The first thing I can say is, just because someone doesn't kill you doesn't mean that they aren't the imposter. Usually you'll start the game off, and I've got a little map, don't worry, I'm a good artist. Usually you'll start the game off, say, in cafeteria, obviously. You start the game for cafeteria, and you probably go to like weapons or something, stay there for a bit, and you might go to navigation. By now everyone's kind of dispersed, they're all doing their own things. Some of them are having sex, some of them aren't, especially not you loser. And you're in navigation, and say you're with, say, yellow or something. Let's get the color yellow. And let's put yellow right here. So you and yellow are in navigation. You don't kill him because you're not the imposter. He doesn't kill you. So you're like, well, he hasn't killed me yet, so I guess he's safe. But this is actually one of the worst things to think, because it's a technique called marinating, or I call it abuse, but people call it marinating. Basically, you'll just hang out with someone for like most of the game, and you'll always be near them. You keep them alive so they think you're crewmate and they vote with you. So say you're with yellow in navigation and the body gets reported. Yeah, yellow didn't do this kill because he's been with you, but it doesn't mean that he's not the imposter. Usually you play games with 2 imposters or 3 if you're really extreme and you're about that life. I don't know anyone who plays with 3 imposters, but yeah, if there are 2 imposters, just because someone's with you for a certain period of time does not mean that they couldn't have got the kill. The worst thing you can do is hard vouch for someone and say, well, it's definitely not him because I've been with him for like 2 seconds, when they could have been doing God knows what for the past 10 hours. Alright, let's move on. So I didn't do an intro because I thought it would be weird if I start the video off like, hey guys, welcome back, because I'm pretty sure someone might be watching it for the first time. So I'm like, let's get to the good stuff and we can do the intros later, which won't even be now. Let's skip to it. So I want to go into a few scenarios where I can like illustrate where the game is and what you should be thinking as a crewmate to stay alive, because no one wants to be crewmate, but you always will end up being crewmate. So I think it's important to be good crewmates, because being a good crewmate is kind of being a good imposter, because as long as you know what to say and what to pretend you're doing, then you'll be better at deceiving the crowd as the imposter. So you can see this as a 2-in-1 guide for both imposter and crew, but mainly crew. You are crew for the rest of this video. I'm going to give you 2 scenarios where I highlight the amount of players left and give you like a little quiz and see who you think the imposter is. But before that, let's go over some overall tips. I've got the map outlay on my laptop over here. It is the first map scaled. Most people like this map the most. I think Purse is better, but as long as it's not the second one that no one knows what it's called. No one even knows its name. That's how much no one likes that map. The one where you're in the hallway so you can vent everywhere. That map's the worst one. They need to patch it. Anyway, so it's a well-established fact that you don't vote on 7 or 4, because at 7 people you have 2 imposters, and if you vote the wrong person out, then there'll be 6 people left, 4 of which are crew and 2 of which are the imposters. The imposters get a double kill. By the boom, they win the game. Likewise on 4, if you vote the wrong person out, then there will be 3 people, 2 of which are crew, 1 is imposter. Imposter just has to sabotage something and get a kill, and he wins the game. You don't want that happening. So it's a well-established fact not to vote on 7 or 4, which means that the most common scenarios are where you skip 7 and you end up reporting at 5 or 6, mainly 5, because the 2 imposters get 2 kills and it goes on to 5 people, and you find the body and you're like, oh crap, we have to get someone out now or else we lose the game. So I thought it'd be pretty useful to go over that, to go over a scenario where you skipped at 7, as you should, and you end up at 5 people and 2 imposters. But before that, we have to go over some discussion politics. So discussion politics are what I like to call how to act to not be suspicious and how best to manipulate and to convince your fellow crewmates that you aren't the imposter. When someone accuses you, you don't have to accuse them back. A lot of the times when you get accused, your natural human instinct, you know, it's all in the brain. Your natural human instinct would be to say, well, it's not me, so it must be you. Say you are blue and red accuses you. You know that you're not the imposter, but obviously they don't know that. So there can only be 3 scenarios. Option 1, which is that you are the imposter and red is not. Option 2 is that you aren't the imposter and red is. Or option C, which is that you are both crewmates. What happens a lot is someone gets accused and it's like, well, it's not me, so it has to be you, and they vote straight away. Don't ever vote straight away, because say you both are crewmates, it's option C. That means that you're just wasting your time arguing while there are 2 imposters who are just, what's the word for making something a bigger deal? Like adding something to the fire. Catalyst? They're instigating? Yeah, they're instigating. The 2 imposters are instigating this fight because they're trying to get a crewmate off any way they can, and a free kill in a vote off is just as good as a kill for them. You have to remember that imposters can only be killed by being voted off, because they can't die, they are the killers obviously. So it's actually kind of uncommon for the imposters to draw suspicion to themselves, and the biggest way of getting suspicion to yourself is to say, this guy's the killer, because that guy will almost always say, it's not me, so it might be you. So when someone accuses you, it often isn't that person, because most of the time new imposters are usually too scared to make bold claims. They're not really crew enough to observe the actions of another player and be like, this guy's been running into walls, like what's he doing? So when someone accuses you, it's actually more likely than not that they aren't the imposter. Only in the first few rounds when there's like 9, 7 or 8 people. When it gets to less than like 6, then all bets are off, so this can't really help you. So with that in mind, here's a test scenario. You skipped on 7 and now there are 5 people left and you've not voted a single person out the entire game. You guys kind of suck. You are blue, you are crew, and you're safe, but no one else knows that, and you can't vouch for anyone else because you've been alone the entire time. And you are in between storage and electrical. So I'll draw you in the hallway between electrical and storage. And don't worry, I'm a good artist, so I can draw this. There you are. There you are, you were in between those places. You've been there doing electrical tasks when O2 went off, and then you started to leave and go toward O2. But before that happened, Black found a body. So here's Black. Black found a body in Reactor. It was actually his boyfriend's body, so he's quite sad about that. So I'll draw him with like a little sad face. He's got a big head too. Pink and Yellow are arguing with each other in admin. So Pink is over here. He's unhappy because he's arguing with Yellow. Pink says that Yellow is running away from O2 when it's going off, so you should be going towards it. And Yellow, let's draw Yellow. And Yellow is saying, yeah, I did run from O2 because you're trying to kill me, dude. He's so suspicious of Pink, so that's why he ran away from O2 because he didn't want to die. That's because Yellow is a little bitch. Yellow and Pink are arguing, and let's draw like a little, let's draw that anime style lightning bolt. So they're arguing with each other in admin. In the meantime, Brown is the last person who's alive. Brown is in upper O2. He just added the code and he's been waiting around for someone to come, but no one's been in there. So Brown is here and he is all alone. He's kind of sad, he's lonely, he's depressed, whatever. We all are, get over it. Anyway, because there are 5 of you and there are 2 imposters left still because you haven't voted out anyone this entire game somehow, you have to get someone out here. And if it's the wrong person, you insta lose because there'll be 2 imposters and 2 crewmates. So you have to get an imposter out here or else you will lose for sure. Before I give you the floor to figure out who the imposter is, I'm going to give you a few of the characters' routes. So you ask Black first and you're like, where were you this entire round? Black started in cafeteria. He went toward medbay to do his scan when O2 went off, and instead of going to O2, he says that he went the other way. Instead of going through cafeteria to either the admin O2 or obviously the O2 O2, he decided that he would go around the long way down in upper engine all the way there. And when he went past reactor, he was like, oh, isn't that a body? And it was his boyfriend, and he's been crying ever since. So that's a bit weird. So that was his pathing that round. Pathing is the route a character takes. It's kind of an advanced term. No, it's not. But it's kind of it might not be clear until I explain it. So here's an explanation. Pathing is the route a character is taken. Brown has started in cafeteria, gone to weapons, and then gone to nav. You can't see it. Gone to navigation, and he was going towards shields when O2 went off, and he went back up to O2, and he's been there ever since. So that's Brown's route. Pink and Yellow have kind of been together-ish, but they've been dancing around each other in storage, in comms, and they ended up back together in admin after splitting up many times and coming back together. That's all the information you need to figure out who the imposter is here. So it's up to you guys. I'm gonna pause the video. You're gonna pause the video and figure it out yourself, alright? When you think you have it figured out, or if you just want to skip to the answers, then I'll give them in 5, 4, okay, so now what you have to do here is go through a little bit of a deduction. Obviously, there's an elephant in the room. Why the hell did Black find a body in reactor when O2 is going off? Level 1 thinking is, okay, Black was alone, Black was in reactor, Black found a body, Black self-reported. Then you have to realize that if Black was the killer, why would he report a body in reactor? Level 2 thinking is realizing that Black is almost 100% clear in this case. Oh god, I sound like a nerd. Like, if Black was the killer, then he would know that roughly 5 people are still alive because he would have got a kill and his imposter body would have got a kill by now. So he should know that 5 people are alive and he just has to kill 1 more person to win the game. But him reporting a body when O2 is going off and everyone is in the opposite side of the map makes no sense for the imposter to do. The only way it makes sense is, say we have Brown, and Brown is in upper engine, Black and Brown, and then Brown is running down and Black kind of sees him coming and he's in reactor. If Black saw Brown coming, then he'd have to report the body here because Brown would have seen it. He'd be like, I've got to report it now because if not, Brown will see me and he'll know that I killed and he'll be like, ugh. But because no one was pressuring him, no one was on his ass, no one was right behind him like, I'm gonna find a body if you don't report it, there was no need for him to report it there. So it's almost 90% not ever Black in this case. So you can kind of hard clear Black because Brown's not here. This is just hypothetical. Brown's actually in O2. He's sad because he's been alone, he's depressed, whatever. You can be like 90% sure that Black is not the imposter at all because why would he self-report a body when everyone is in O2? So you've been thinking really hard and you're just like, okay, Black is kind of sus, but it's definitely not him because he would never report a body there if he's the imposter. So you want to tell everyone that it's definitely not Black, but you can't even speak because Pink and Yellow are screaming at each other. They're both calling each other the imposter and it's just really confusing. So you demand silence in the courtroom. You finally get it and here's what you say. Let's remember the odds when 2 people are arguing. It's either A, they are both the imposter, B, one of them is the imposter and one of them is not, or C, they are both crew. Because we have 5 people left, we can kind of reduce our options. It can't be C because if they were both crew and you're pretty sure Black's not the imposter, it means that the only 2 imposters would have to be you and Brown, but it can't be you, so that's definitely ruled out. And it's probably not option A, 2 imposters, because at this point in the game, when there are 5 people left and 2 imposters, there is almost no way on earth that the 2 imposters will be arguing with each other, saying that one of them is the imposter. They are definitely not both the imposters. And this is also due to the fact that the longer the game goes on, the more power the imposters have, because when the game starts, it's obviously like 10 people, 2 imposters, which is a 2-to-8 ratio of imposter to crew. And in the boardrooms or the courtrooms or the chat rooms, whatever you want to call them, in the discussion rooms, the majority vote always wins. So the So imposters are always disadvantaged in the chat rooms because they're always the minority until the very end. When there are 5 people left, 3 crew, 2 imposters, then it's a 2 to 3 ratio, which is almost a majority. It's so close to being a majority. So they only had to get one person to agree with them to vote off a certain person, and then they win for sure. Which is why marinating or abuse. Marinating is so popular as a tactic because if an imposter has someone under their control, they basically have a free vote or a third imposter, as some people say. As some people say, like I don't say it all the flipping time. They basically have like a free vote or a third imposter, which is why marinating or abuse, whatever you want to call it, gaslighting, marinating, abuse, Stockholm syndrome, I don't know. Marinating is such a popular tactic because it means that you get someone on your side. So at the end of the game, where it's one of these really close calls, you'll have you 2 imposters and you'll have your little puppet who you can string along and make go and do every beck and whim. Go to your every beck and whim. That is a saying, right? Beck and whim. That's a saying. I'm pretty sure it's a saying. Also, the imposters always know who their fellow imposter is, but the crew usually has no idea for sure who is another crewmate, unless you're like a little babe and you play with med scans on. Ew. So you have no way to confirm if someone is not an imposter. So that's why the imposters are really powerful when it's like 2 to 4 or 2 to 3, especially 2 to 3, because then they know who they are. So they can always like subconsciously team together and just have to get one person or 2 people to vote with them. So we can rule out that it's option A, that they're both imposters, and it's definitely not C. They can't be both crew because that would mean you're the imposter, which just leaves brown. Black is crew 90% of the time. Pink and yellow have only one imposter between them, which means the other imposter is definitely not you, so it has to be brown by the process of elimination. So if you voted a brown out, you'd be right and you'd win the cash prize of nothing. Anyway, you'd win the cash prize of your teammates' loyalty and respect. Now, if you communicate all this information to your team, and communication is another thing, I might make a separate video about how to talk properly because talking is so important in this game. Like the way you talk and the way you carry yourself matters so much. This is why this game is kind of bad for introverts or like really shy people, because you'll just be stuttering and everyone will talk over you. So you tell everyone this and they all believe you. So 4 people vote for brown and brown votes for you out of spite. I hate you! And the game doesn't end, which means brown was definitely the imposter. So now there are 4 imposters and now there are 4 players, 1 imposter and 3 crew. So let's take it further. 4 is a really common spot where you have 3 crew and 1 imposter. So here are some tips, and we'll go through another scenario, but here are some tips first before we go through that. If you utilize this knowledge, I sound like I wrote a book for incels about how to get girls, and I'm just like, if you utilize this knowledge, you can make anyone fall madly in love with you. If you utilize this knowledge, then you have a credential. Basically, a credential to me is something that proves your innocence as crewmate or helps you divert suspicion as imposter. So for instance, there are some credentials like the scan. No, I did medbay. I scanned. The partner. No, I was with him the entire game. It can't be him. Okay. Or this one, the detective. In the next discussion room, if you're still alive, you can say that you're the one who led the charge to get an imposter out. When it's 5 people left and the game doesn't end when you vote someone off, then that person had to always be the imposter because you haven't voted anyone out this entire game. Somehow you guys suck, and because the game didn't end when there are 4 people, it means that you have to have gotten 1 imposter out, and because your only vote was your last vote, which you led, it means that you led the group to get the imposter out. So you are almost never the imposter unless you are playing with some satanic forces and for some reason you decided to do a big brain spin and make everyone vote your imposter body out just to make it harder for yourself. But yeah, now you are 100% crew in everyone's eyes because you got the imposter out. So when the next boardroom happens, which will happen soon, you can tell everyone that you are safe and they can't really accuse you of anything because you're always safe. Let's go into the next round. Let's refresh the slate. So let's get rid of everything we just drew. All my precious art is all gone, and let's start again. Brown's out of here, so let's go on. So everyone's together at the start of the game, obviously, because you it's really not funny, but it's just like, duh, everyone's together. Of course, you just start the game. Everyone's together in cafeteria. Everyone's together, and we're all a bit awkward and scared because none of us want to die. So we're all hanging out together, just waddling around. And then we make a move slowly through weapons all the way to O2, where yellow, let's go back to yellow, where yellow stops off and does leaves at O2 at the very end. So he does leaves, which are like right around here. Yellow does leaves at O2, and I'll put like a LV for leave. That doesn't stand for leave at all, but LV for leaves. Everyone else just stands there and waits, and everyone shuffles down. We're all shuffling, we're already scared. Shuffles down all the way down to shields, where it looks like Pink is about to start doing shields when oof, the lights go off. Should I turn the lights off? Boom, the lights go off. Okay, that wasn't really as good as I thought it would be. The lights go off, and now you're all panicking because you can't see each other that well. You kind of see black, you kind of see pink, you kind of see yellow, but you can't really be sure of anyone. So you're like, okay, screw it, alright, I'll go to lights by myself. You make a run for it. You run straight from storage down all the way up to lights, and you are terrified because you know that the killer is probably going to come kill you because you're always clear. So you're doing lights as fast as you can. You finally complete lights when boom, Pink reports Black's body. So who killed Black? I'll give you a bit of information so it's a bit easy. So you got brown out, so you tell Yellow and Pink that you're definitely not the imposter. But you can barely get this across because Yellow and Pink are arguing with each other again. Yellow is saying that Pink killed and Pink is saying that Yellow killed. This was inevitable, alright? It always happens. This is the most common scenario in the game when it's 3 people, 2 of them are accusing each other, and now you've got to make a really hard choice based on almost no evidence. Before I give it to you guys, this is way too hard, so let's make it a tiny bit easier. Last round, Black said that he was done with all his tasks. This game has been going on for a really long time, long enough for all the ghosts to have done their tasks too, and you ask Yellow and Pink if they have any tasks done. Pink says that he still has tasks in Reactor, and when you ask Pink why didn't you go do them at the start of the game, he says that he was too scared to leave the group because he knew that Yellow would come and kill him. And so you ask Yellow, do you have any tasks left? And Yellow says that his last task was in O2, which you saw him do, and he's done now. So that's all the info you get. That part is really important to solving the mystery. It's a little hint, but what the hell was that? But that's all the info you get to solve the mystery, and that's all you need to know. So who's the killer, Yellow or Pink? Pause the video right now, folks, and come back in a second after this commercial break and we'll figure out who the imposter is. This is hard, but it's a common scenario. The play is a kind of like 9,000 IQ play, which is like really big brain, but it's also really risky because it could not work. It's all about the ghosts. How this game works is the imposters never have any tasks. So when Pink and Yellow says they both had tasks, one of them is lying because one of them is the imposter, and the imposter never has any tasks to do in the first place. The imposter has no effect on the taskbar, which means that in the case that the game's been going on for quite a while and you think the ghosts are all done because they're good ghosts and they don't like to grieve the game and you've done your task, then you can make a big IQ play and get the imposter out here. Somebody out of Pink and Yellow is lying, and because they both said different things, you can actually figure out who the imposter is. So let's start by saying if Pink was the imposter, then him having a task in Reactor would have no bearing on the actual game's taskbar progress because the imposter would be lying about their task because they don't have any tasks anyway. The imposter has no effect on the taskbar whatsoever in the entire game, aside from comms when they make it disappear. The imposter can never affect the taskbar. So if Pink was the imposter and he still had a task left in Reactor, then that task would be a fake task if the ghosts are done, which is a big reach, I know, but if the ghosts are done and you are done and Yellow is done, then it means the game would have ended because everyone would be done with their tasks. That means that Pink can't be lying about still having a task left because the crewmate's task is what's holding the game up because he is the last person who has any tasks left. So he has to be the crewmate here because his tasks actually matter, unlike the fake ones that Yellow was doing earlier. So you can big brain here, and this is the riskiest tactic I've ever said, but it worked one time with some of my friends and someone on YouTube I saw. I think it was like a half-a video or something like that. I might link it in the description if I can find it. If you can guarantee the ghosts on their tasks, which is impossible, I know, but the game has not ended yet, so somebody has tasks left, and Yellow said he's done with his tasks. You have no tasks left. That means that Pink has to have tasks left, which means that Pink has to be a crewmate because his tasks actually matter. Yellow made the typical imposter blunder and said, my tasks are done. So you vote for Yellow because you're pretty sure that Pink is actually a crew and he has tasks left, and you win the game. Woo! This is a very specific scenario. It's kind of complicated. It might not have made sense. If it made sense, let me know, because I kind of messed that up myself, to be honest. But if it made sense to you, then leave a like. Nah. If it made sense to you, then let me know. If it didn't make sense, I can explain it again in the comments. So, woo, you win the game. And that's it. Now for my video intro. Hey guys, welcome back. Yo, what's up? I haven't uploaded the video in like a month and a half, but I was just like, I want to do something I actually care about. And this game, I happen to care about, or I have a big enthusiasm for. It's a flipping fun ass game, man. It's really good. And it's such a deceptively simple game because it's like such a tiny, like there's not much to it. I mean, there is, but there's so much like big thinking. It's so deceptively simple. Like it looks really simple at first, but the more you play it, the more you think about all the nuances and all the little intricacies, and you're like, wow, this is pretty legit. I'm gonna make a guide series for Impostor and Crewmate. I might do Impostor next. People want to see Impostor more than Crew because that's what people suck at usually. Watching these videos, watching both of them, Crew and Impostor, will help you be a better imposter overall, because if you're Impostor, you're really just faking Crew, and if you're good at being Crew, you'll be good at being the Impostor. So yeah, I'm next gonna do an Impostor video, and then I'll go back to Crewmate. I'll do like one Crew, one Impostor, one Crew, one Impostor. Hopefully I might make it like a really long series. But so if you enjoyed the video, if you want to see some more, give me a like, leave me a comment, let me know what you thought about it, and I'll do some more definitely. Let me know if you thought the setup's good, if you think anything like with the screen should change, or with like the camera or whatever. There's a light in the background I want to get out of the way because it's like, why is it there?
They ask you how you are.
Why is it there? I don't want to see you, dude. You're ruining my shot. It can't go any further to the right because my bed's right there. Anyway, but that was a fun video. I like this sort of idea of content. I'm like really getting to my teacher mode. Like I'm really good at teaching people. That's a complete lie, but I'm really passionate about teaching some things that I like. So yeah, let's get it. Let's do some more of this. If you want to see some more of this, let me know in the comments. Leave a comment, leave a like, leave a share, blah, 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 blah. You know the jazz. And I'll see you in the next video. Peace out. Adios.